Feels a little bit like a cooking show this. I've got all my ingredients laid out, ready to go, and it's nice and straightforward this. The kit itself comes with good instructions. They've also got YouTube videos if you prefer that. I'm not sponsored by them. This is just the kit that I'm using. The hardest thing to do is setting up these print sheets, and that does take a while, but once you've got them, it saves you time later. I'm going to be going through some of my car artwork prints, and of course here's a link on the screen so you can find more of that. I want to move away from the print on demand if possible, so this is part of that kind of process. So these will be available on my website when we're done. Now when I've printed these off, they've all got a little circle as a cutting guide, and that's quite important to keep your design centered. They are super tiny, but then these are only 25mm badges. You are provided with a cutting board. That looks like it's just a bit of plastic. And when you put your cutter on there, you want to line it up as close as you can to the little piece that you're cutting out. So we've got our cutting board down, and we've got our print sheet here. You can see all the little designs that I've got. These do already exist in the Redbubble shop, so yeah, link for that is up on the screen and in the description box. But for now we're just going to do these. So you have your cutter, and there's a hole in the middle which is actually slightly bigger than you want because the blade here is just inset from the edge. And you line that up on your print so that your circle guide is just about in the middle. And you don't need to use a lot of force. I didn't use enough force. Let's see if I can do that one again. There we go. And that's what you cut out. Little Nash Metropolitan. I'm going to buzz through this sheet and the second sheet here, which is some different designs, and I'll show you the next stage once I've done all of this. I've got all of my designs cut out. I didn't do the full sheet just because this is demonstration purposes, but there's very little waste when you've actually cut these out. And now it's just the process of going through everything. There's a few components that you need to use, and you've got your main tool here. The lever does not push down that way like you might expect. It folds that way instead. First thing that you need to put in is one of these metal pieces. And that goes on there with the folded edge down, so it's just smooth on top. Then your little design that you've cut out. It slots in there very nicely. Then you need one of these mylar pieces. Now do be careful, because if you accidentally pick up two, it will jam all of this together. I did learn that the hard way, even with the warning, because it's very easy to accidentally pick two of these up together. And you take your removable part of the die, and this piece goes that way up for the first operation. Bring the lever down and wait for the chunk. And that pushes your design up into the die, and on the back it crimps everything in and holds it in place. That's quite important for your next stage. You take one of these rings and make sure that it's this way up, so that the folded over lip there is to the bottom. Transfer your die over, and instead of this way up, we turn the die that way round. That sits on there. Don't push anything, just make sure it sits. And then pull the lever again. This time it won't go chunk. And just make sure you push all the way when you do it. And that's one little badge done. And you can see how nice and tidy it is on the back there. Finally, you take one of the D-rings, if you're using these D-ring pins, slot in like that, and clip in place. And that is a badge finished. I'm going to go through the rest of my designs here, and we'll get all of these nicely done. Now we've done one, let's do the rest of these designs. I made one little mistake, which is I forgot to put the little mylar on this one, so this has no protection from the elements and won't last very long. So we just have to redo this one. And you can see the difference that makes. The mylar covering, it both protects the paper that it's printed out of and just gives it that nice shiny professional looking finish. So it's very important that that gets put in there. And that's our little sample run done, which is great. Now unfortunately you can't salvage the components of this, but you can recycle it because it's just paper and steel, which is really good for the environment. That's part of the reason as well that I've gone for these kind of pins, the D pins, because the ones with a safety pin backing on them, they have a big plastic insert, and I want to try and avoid plastic if I can. The only other issue I have with this badge machine is it's a bit rough on your hands and your shoulders. And it's just to do with the design of the thing. You have to put in quite a bit of force to make each badge, so I wouldn't want to be sat here making hundreds of these things. I am happy enough just making very small, limited runs of my original artwork, and it just means I don't have to bulk order from a factory in China or that sort of thing. I don't sell masses of this sort of thing, so for me, as a small volume creator, this is perfectly fine. And sometimes you even get friends who offer to help, and I appreciate you very much, but I will make you work. Don't worry, you'll get a free badge. Now that I've made the badges, I need to sell the badges. Yeah, we've rolled over into another day here, new outfit as you can see, but yeah, I'm a bit up and down at the minute. My health is a bit, but we're managing, we're figuring it out. I've been given the opportunity to sell some things at a very small private event, and that's going to be a really good trial run for me to figure out what I'm capable of doing. I'm still figuring out where my limits are and what triggers a health episode, so this is a good project for that. I did realise I had no display things at all for the stall, so I can't just dump the badges out on a bare table and be done with it. I need something extra, and you do know I like when things are extra. So I took a trip to the local charity shop to see what they had in the picture frame bin, and I got very lucky. I found something much better than I was expecting to find. already been playing about with some layout for a sample panel, and these are glass mirrored frames with, on the back, the ability to stand up, which is brilliant for me. I thought I was going to have to modify something, but this is perfect. So I've got the one big one here, which will be great for showing an example of every badge I've got one of. And then these smaller ones will be good for point of sale, extra information, pricing, that sort of thing. I'm just going to focus on doing this one for now. As you can see, I have my 16 badges laid out. I've got a strip along the top here, which is space so I can say what they are and how much they are. Keep it nice and simple. I did think about maybe writing underneath each one what they are, but we're overcomplicating things. So now I know what my layout is, we can clear these away. The other thing in my fabric stash and my crafting supplies is I've got some bits of felt left over from, I think it was from some miniature work a while ago. And this is sticky backed. That's great because I've got just enough of this green to put in this frame and I can just stick it straight onto the glass. It's not going to do any harm to anything here. If I need to reverse it later I can. The advantage to using this felt is that one, it sticks to the glass, so it's nice and easy for me to modify these frames fairly quickly and refresh the felt when it gets tatty. The other, if I just pop the pin on the back of these badges, I'm not stretching it out, this is just as normal as it goes out, I can literally push them into the felt and they stay put. So that's a really, really good way of me getting all the badges on here and being able to change the display very quickly and easily. First task then is to cut this down to size, and it's close, but I need to take a little bit off the top here and a little bit down the side. So if I put it this way round, all I'm doing is pushing in with my fingernail, because it's a nice chunky frame, and then drawing with the pen to give me a rough line of where I need to be. I'm doing it on the back so it doesn't show through on the front. I'll cut it just a little bit outside the line. And I've managed to cut it just a tiny bit too small, but that's okay, it doesn't matter because of what this is. It's just a display item, it'll be fine. I shall clean off this glass to make sure there's no dust or anything on there so this sticks properly. There we go. That's most of the process of making these micro badges. You can make your own. That's perfectly fine if you want to do that. And it can be quite fun. It's a little bit expensive up front to get your tools and things, but once you're going, you're fine. My goal with this is to have a range of unique little badges that I do fairly short runs of, so I can carry some real world stock and hopefully start doing some real world trading instead of just the online stuff. We'll have to see what 2026 brings. Please do subscribe and like and all that if you've enjoyed the video. I'm trying to get the channel to 1,000 subscribers this year because once I hit that milestone, things should start getting a little bit easier. This is what I do for a living, and because of the unique way that the BUK benefits system works, it's all I can do for a living. So I very much need your help and appreciate it.